In this chapter, we shall continue talking about the importance of the first 5 years of life in human brain development, which I will base on a report called Rethinking the Brain: New Insights into Early Development, written by Shaw in the year 2000. 5 conclusions were drawn from this report based on the research done in recent years, and these are: the first one is that human development depends on the interconnection between nature, biology, and education, which we can also call environment and culture. Neuroscientists have shown that in the course of all development processes before birth, the brain isn't only influenced by the individual genetic inheritance, but also by the environmental conditions, including the type of education, the environment, the care, and the stimuli that the child receives from the first moments of birth. The second conclusion to which this study arrives is that initial care and education have a decisive and long-lasting impact in how people develop their ability to learn and their skill to regulate their own emotions. The way in which parents, families, guardians, or people who are close to the child connect and answer to the demands of the child, the ways in which they handle the connections with their offspring and with the environment directly affect the formation of neural pathways. Neuroscientists are discovering that a strong and secure connection of a caring and responsible caregiver can have a protective biological function and, to a certain extent, an immunizing function, as they call it, against the adverse effects of stress or traumatic situations, helping the child, in spite of the common tensions of daily life, to learn ways in which to navigate conflicts that arise in our daily lives. The third conclusion of this report is that the human brain has an incredible ability to change, but time is crucial. While the learning process continues throughout life, there are sensitive periods or times in which the brain is particularly efficient for specific types of learning, for example, especially for the organization of vision, hearing, speech, and social relationships. During the first decade of life, and especially during the first years, the ability of the brain to change is incredible. These periods are called critical periods of development. The fourth conclusion is that the plasticity of the brain also means that there are times in which negative experiences or lack of adequate stimuli are more susceptible to presenting harmful and lasting effects. The brain development reflects a large number of physical, cognitive, relational, and emotional experiences. The brain is organized in response to the pattern, intensity, and nature of such experiences. New knowledge about the vulnerability of the developing brain in regards to environmental factors suggest that early experiences of negligence and/or trauma or exposure to toxic substances like the use of drugs or alcohol during pregnancy, and also depression of the mother, poverty, among other things, are the main risk factors. This means that they will interfere in the development of the subcortical and limbic areas of the brain, resulting as an extreme consequence in states of anxiety, depression, or inability to establish healthy ties with others. Adverse experiences during childhood can also deteriorate the cognitive abilities and the possibility and the skills to learn. The last conclusion of this study demonstrates, under scientific evidence, that the research gathered by neurology and child development specialists point out the convenience and effectiveness of interventions in the first years of life. This means that children born in families with a lower level of formal education are the ones that benefit the most, cognitively speaking, of the problems that society or the community offer of early interventions. As well as that, the impact of interventions during early childhood seems to be long-range. This means that a child who has received assistance in the first years of life, this assistance will have a long-lasting impact and will mark his life for the long term. A very interesting point in this report is that the access to educational programs in early childhood is associated with almost a 50% reduction of chances of children repeating the school year during primary school. One of the most important researchers in child development, Fraser Mustard, asserts that the cerebral pathways that affect behavior and health and the ability to read and write are organized at a very early stage in the human brain.